Can you hurry up? Sorry, I'll get it ready right away. I had been living with my in-laws at the request of my husband. I had felt a bit uncomfortable about moving in with them even before it happened, but since we started living together, it has been nothing but hell for me. These young people today, can't they even do this much? Say something to her, Dad. It's no use talking. Clearly, you can't get a proper education in a single-parent home. That's true. All I did was take care of the household chores. From cleaning and laundry to preparing meals, I was in charge of everything on my own. But being insulted about my mother was too much, and I was nearing my breaking point. At that moment, I must have looked at my in-laws with nothing but hatred in my eyes. Noticing this, my mother-in-law came over to me and, without saying a word, slapped my cheek. What are you doing? This is for your education. From the moment you married, you became practically our property. So, this is perfectly normal. How is this normal? This is just violence. Stop hitting her face. We don't want people to start suspecting things. It's fine. We'll just say she fell down the stairs. I knew things were bad before, but this is just too much. What are you spacing out for? It's nothing. Fine. Let's eat out today. You can clean up afterwards. And to make matters worse, my husband was on a business trip and couldn't come to help immediately. Even though he couldn't come right away, I wanted to share this with him. What's wrong? It's about your parents. Did they do something? I was just hit a moment ago. Hit? Well, she slapped my face. I see. My husband didn't seem very surprised. He listened dispassionately, almost as if it were someone else's problem. Is that all you have to say? All I can say is, don't oppose those two. That's just how it is. Sorry, but I'm tired, so I'll hang up now. Wait a minute. The call ended. My mind was reeling. Was my husband really siding with his parents? I thought about relying on my mother, the only family I have, but knowing she was busy, I didn't want to add to her worries. What should I do? I had no choice but to follow what my in-laws said. Then, one day, something happened. We're having a party at our place next time. Invite your mother too. It'd be nice to have a big, lively gathering. A party? Yes. A lot of relatives are coming, and it would be better to have more people to liven things up. I'll ask my mother. I immediately contacted my mother. It's rare to get a call from you. What's up? There's a party here next Sunday. They asked if you could come too. I see. A brief silence followed. Perfect timing. Let's go. Perfect. You'll see soon enough. Okay. And so, my mother and I decided to attend the party at my in-laws. On the morning of the party. By the way, isn't he coming home? No, I got a message saying he's too busy to come back. He hasn't told me anything. He's probably worried, don't you think? Hey! What are you doing over there? People will be arriving soon. I know. Relatives started arriving early in the morning. I was nervous, surrounded by so many people I was meeting for the first time. As I was hosting, my mother-in-law asked, "When is your mother arriving?" She said she'd be here soon. We're busy, so we need her to come early. I'm sorry. 15 minutes later, my mother arrived. Sorry I'm late. Don't worry about it at all. My mother-in-law's smile at that moment was unsettling. More relatives kept arriving, and the living room was packed. When the flow of people finally calmed down, we tried to take a break. You must be tired, Mom? Let's rest a bit. Sounds good. As I started heading towards the living room, my mother stopped me. What's up? There's something I want to talk about. She began to talk about my in-laws. What do you mean? You know I'm the CEO, right? So I get a lot of information every day. And about this. I hadn't thought my husband was involved too. But listening to my mother, I understood. Okay, you two, it's time to work. Work? What? Did you think you were just guests today? You're the help. Now please, go cook and serve. Hearing this, even my usually calm mother showed a fierce face. Then she muttered quietly, "Let's go home." That moment, I knew what to do. Yes. The vibe here is just off. What? Ignoring the surprised looks from the relatives, my mother and I left the in-laws' house. Though this was technically my place to return, it no longer mattered. By the time I spoke with my mother, my mind was made up. Revenge on my in-laws and freeing my husband. My name is Megan, and I currently support my family as a homemaker. I live with my husband and my mother, but getting here wasn't easy. Lost in thought? Yeah, just thinking about something that happened a while back. Something from the past? Yeah. About those two. Oh. I often find myself reflecting on the past. Looking back, it all started when I met my husband, James. Before we got married, I was working as an office assistant at a small company. I guess I was just drifting through life without any real goals. Especially after losing my father to cancer when I was in junior high school. Originally, my dad ran his own company, but then my mom took over. Honestly, it was a pretty lonely time. When will you be home today? Sorry, I think I'll be late again today. There's food in the fridge, just heat it up and eat. Got it. I knew my mom was working hard for me. I tried my best not to cause her any trouble. That's probably why I never developed any clear goals and just drifted along. I ended up choosing a college close to home because of this. Maybe because of how I grew up, even after I started working, I wasn't really interested in dating. That changed when I first met James through a mutual friend. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. Megan here is a bit aloof, so James, make sure to keep things fun for her. Is that so? Hey, don't say unnecessary stuff. It was a bit awkward at first, but James still tried to make things enjoyable, which I found quite endearing. So, what do you usually do, Megan? I'm more of an indoor person. I like playing video games, reading comics, and watching anime. I'm the same then. Got any recommendations? What kind of stuff do you like? Let's see. We hit it off talking about our interests, and before we knew it, our friend had left. Huh? It's just the two of us? Looks like it. I didn't even notice. We exchanged numbers and quickly became good friends, hanging out more often. I'm usually not one to go out much, but I started going out because James would invite me. Maybe it was a good thing because people at work began saying I seemed happier. Meeting James definitely had a positive impact on me. About 2 months after we met, we started dating, and he invited me to his parents' house. This is your family home. Something wrong? No, not at all. It's just really nice. I guess. I've lived here nearly 20 years. I had never met a boyfriend's parents before, so I was nervous the whole time. From what I heard, his parents ran a small family-owned business. James himself was planning to take over one day. As for me, I didn't have such clear goals, so I felt a bit envious. I was strongly drawn to James, a hard worker like my mother. This made me want to be by his side and support him. Feel free to come over again. Thank you for today. Our relationship continued smoothly, and by the time I was about to turn 27, we were both thinking about marriage. Then, a week before my birthday, it happened. Will you marry me? I'll make sure you're happy. Yes! I'm so happy! Thank you! We decided to have our wedding on my birthday and hurried to make our formal introductions. My mom listened to our news with a very kind face. However, the problem was with my in-laws. When we went to greet them at their house, my father-in-law asked me a question right after the introductions. Megan, you come from a single-parent home, right? Yes, that's right. What work do you do? I work in an office. Then my father-in-law said something outrageous. That's a job anyone can do. Why don't you consider changing careers? Hey! That's no way to speak. I'm just stating the facts. Listening to this, my mother-in-law added even worse words. Dear, don't be so hard on her. It's just cruel. I thought for a moment my mother-in-law might be on my side. Why are young people so hopeless these days? My father-in-law sighed heavily. A stark contrast to his demeanor during our previous visit. And it didn't stop there. Even my mother became a target. Well, single mothers usually aren't much to speak of. That's not fair. James stepped in to defend us. That's going too far. What? You're talking back to us? It's not talking back. Megan and her mother both work hard every day. Besides, you two have just been staying at home recently. Caught by his pointed remark, the two exchanged surprised glances. Hearing this, my father-in-law sighed. I didn't realize you felt that way. If you two won't accept it, I won't take over the business or come back to this house. They suddenly became agitated. No matter how unwelcome we felt by my in-laws, our feelings about our marriage remained unchanged. We held a faint hope that maybe, just maybe, our relationship with them would gradually improve after the wedding. But even after we got married, the way my in-laws treated me didn't change. It actually got worse. Thanks to James standing firm that day, our marriage was begrudgingly approved. But that didn't mean my in-laws would keep quiet. They started showing up at our house all the time. Moreover, it seemed they had forced James to give them a key, and I'd come home from work to find my mother-in-law relaxing on the couch. Again! What's that tone? Am I not allowed to come? That's not what I meant. Then it's fine. It's definitely not fine. I really wanted to say that to her face. But I held back, thinking it would only cause more trouble if I upset her now. Living in such a nice place, you should really thank James for this. I realized that my mother-in-law just couldn't stop looking down on me. Otherwise, she wouldn't have come all this way just to say that and leave. And having got a taste for it, sometimes my father-in-law would come along too. Then one day. Hey, where's that ornament that was here? Huh? I think a friend gave it to me. That's right, but it can't just disappear suddenly. Could it be? Your parents took it. No way. Well, actually, maybe it's possible. James immediately made a phone call. He put it on speaker so I could hear. What do you want? I wanted to ask if you know anything about a fairly large ornament that was in our living room. It's from abroad. I don't know anything about that. Why would I? It's gone missing from our house. You're not suggesting I took it, are you? Who else has free access to our house? I would never do something like that. It must be a burglar or something. James looked at me and smirked. Then we'll have to call the police. The thief will have to be arrested, thanks for the tip. Bye. Just as he was about to hang up. Wait, just a minute. What? It wasn't me. Dad mentioned it looked valuable. Seriously. I couldn't stay silent. So what happened to it? We sold it to an antique dealer. I was speechless. That's it. Hey! Then they hung up. Unbelievable. Never thought it would come to this. This might happen again. Let's change the locks immediately. I'm really sorry I ever gave them a key. It's not just your fault, James. We immediately made a call and changed the locks. Later, my in-laws brought back the stolen ornament. We are truly sorry for what we did. Please forgive us. You better not do anything like this again. We really should have called the police. We are sincerely reflecting on it. My mother-in-law left with her shoulders slumped. Honestly, seeing her face then, I thought to myself, serves you right. This should stop them from messing around. I hope so. My fears were realized in the worst possible way. While at work as usual, I received a call from James. My parents have been taken to the hospital. What? I don't know all the details yet, but it seems they were in an accident. I explained the situation to my boss and rushed out to the hospital. James was already there when I arrived.
How are your parents?
Well, about that. Huh? Despite hearing they had been in an accident, his expression seemed more exasperated than worried.
Are they all right?
Well, all right is one way to put it. As we headed to the emergency center where they were, they seemed too lively to have been involved in an accident. Oh, you came.
Are you okay?
Weren't you in an accident?
We were supposed to have been hit.
I started to doubt what really happened. In the end, they had no serious injuries and were allowed to go home soon. However, the doctor who treated them mentioned they might experience sudden pain later and advised caution.
We've caused you trouble, haven't we? Well, we were in an accident, so we should get a good settlement out of this. There was something I wanted to buy.
I couldn't help but suspect that was their real motive. I wasn't at the accident scene, so I can't say for certain, but I felt my suspicions might be right. Then, a week later, I heard something unbelievable from James.
Sorry, I don't quite understand it myself.
Apparently, both of them aren't feeling well and asked if we could live with them.
You mean move in with them?
Yes, I'm really sorry this is so sudden. Seeing him like that, I found myself unable to refuse. Okay. We quickly prepared to move, and within just 1 week, we began living with his parents. Though it was James's request, it wasn't something I had truly wanted. I was nothing but anxious about living together.
Thank you for coming. It really helps.
Thank you, I'm here to help. The first day went by without any issues.
James will be training at a company owned by an acquaintance as our successor.
Training? Yes, he is important to us.
So where is he?
He's already left.
What?
Let's live well together, the three of us. At that moment, I realized there was no escape. Truly, my position in this house was the lowest. It was almost like being a maid. My life in their home was almost completely restricted. I had to contribute my income for living expenses, and I couldn't spend money freely. I hesitated to discuss this with my mother, but feeling like I was losing myself, I decided to call her.
Megan, are you doing okay?
Yeah.
You don't have to hold back with me. You didn't contact me because you thought I was too busy, right?
It seems I can't keep anything from my mom. After all, with everything going on, I hadn't even been able to talk to her about living with James's parents.
Actually, I'm living at James's parents' house now.
I see. And James isn't home because he's in training.
Training? What's that?
I told her everything. His parents were business owners, right?
Yeah.
I'll do some digging into the company.
When is James coming back?
I don't know.
He hasn't told me where he is exactly. That's troubling. But, talking like this has made me feel a bit better. I should have contacted you sooner. That's good to hear. But don't overdo it and call me anytime something comes up. Thanks. Take care.
After hanging up and trying to regain my spirits, my mother-in-law appeared at just the wrong time.
What are you doing?
Nothing, really.
There's still a lot for you to do, so get moving.
If it were just my mother-in-law, I might manage, but then my father-in-law joins in.
It's done.
Thank goodness.
You can do as you like for a bit.
While I was taking a short break.
Are you free now?
Just taking a little break.
Then go run an errand for me. What do you need?
Get my favorite snacks.
But the snacks that you like.
Yeah, the ones from that place in Boston.
Right now?
What?
Got a problem with that?
No. Then go. And hurry back or you'll be sleeping outside tonight. Come on, get ready. These people were serious. By then, it was already past midnight, so I had to hurry before the store closed. By the time I arrived in Boston after a few hours, I was completely exhausted. I managed to buy what my father-in-law wanted and headed back. I was barely there an hour. When I arrived back at the in-laws' house, they were out, and the house was locked. Unable to enter, I waited outside until they returned 2 hours later. "What are you doing out here?" "Well, the door was locked." "Fine, come inside." As soon as I entered the living room, I somehow ended up being lectured. "So, did you get it?" "Yes, here it is." I opened the bag, but his face clouded over. "This isn't it."
But this is your favorite, right?
Can't even get a simple errand right. My mother-in-law sighed. Ultimately, I continually complained. From then on, enduring their bullying became my daily reality. I wanted to avoid saying anything that could provoke them further. But it seemed that didn't matter to them at all. "Can you hurry up?"
Sorry, I'll get it ready right away.
At this point, I had become someone who could only obey what was told. These young people today, can't they even do this? Say something to her. There's no point in saying anything. You really can't get a proper education in a single-parent home. That's true. All I did was take care of the housework. I was responsible for everything from cleaning and laundry to preparing meals by myself. However, being mocked even about my mother, my patience was nearing its limit. At that time, I must have looked at my in-laws with deep-seated hatred. Noticing this, my mother-in-law approached me and, without saying a word, slapped my face.
What are you doing?
This is discipline. Since you married James, you're practically our property. So this is just normal. Stop hitting her face. It'll cause us problems if people start suspecting. It's fine. We can just say she fell down the stairs. I thought this was bad before, but this is really too much. What are you zoning out for? Nothing, really. Fine. Let's eat out today. You take care of cleaning up afterwards. At that time, my husband was away on a business trip, and I couldn't call for help immediately. Even though he couldn't come right away, I wanted to share this with my husband. What's wrong? It's about your parents. Did they do something? I just got slapped.
Slapped?
More precisely, she slapped my face. I see. James didn't seem too surprised. He listened dispassionately, almost as if it were someone else's problem.
Is that all you have to say?
All I can say is, don't oppose those two. That's just how it is. Sorry, but I'm tired, so bye.
Wait a minute.
The call ended. My head was spinning. Was my husband really siding with his parents? I thought about relying on my own mother, but knowing she was busy, I didn't want to cause her any additional stress. What should I do? I had no choice but to follow what my in-laws said. Then, one day, something happened. We're having a party at our place next time. Invite your mother too. It'd be nice to have a big, lively gathering. A party? Yes. A lot of relatives are coming, and it would be better to have more people to liven things up. I'll ask my mother. I immediately contacted my mother. It's rare to get a call from you. What's up? There's a party here next Sunday. They asked if you could come too. I see. A brief silence followed. Perfect timing. Let's go. Perfect. You'll see soon enough. Okay. And so, my mother and I decided to attend the party at my in-laws. On the morning of the party. Isn't he coming back? Oh, he's too busy to come back, I got a message. I haven't heard anything. He must be worried, don't you think? Hey! What are you doing over there? They'll be here soon. I know. Relatives started arriving early in the morning. I was nervous around so many people I was meeting for the first time. While hosting, my mother-in-law commented, "When is your mother arriving?" She said she'd be here soon. We're busy, so we need her to come early. I'm sorry. 15 minutes later, my mother arrived. Sorry I'm late. Don't worry about it at all. The smile on my mother-in-law's face at that moment couldn't have been more unsettling. More relatives kept arriving, and the living room was packed. When the flow of people finally calmed down, we tried to take a break. You must be tired, Mom?
Let's take a little break. Sounds good.
As I started heading towards the living room, my mother stopped me.
What's up? There's something I want to talk about.
She began to talk about my in-laws.
What do you mean?
You know I'm the CEO, right?
So I get a lot of information every day.
And about this. I hadn't thought my husband was involved too. But listening to my mother, I understood. Okay, you two, it's time to work.
Work? What? Did you think you were just guests today?
You're the help. Now please, go cook and serve. Hearing this, even my usually calm mother showed a fierce face. Then she muttered quietly. Let's go home. That moment, I knew what to do. Yes.
The vibe here is just off. What?
Ignoring the surprised looks from the relatives, my mother and I left the in-laws' house. Though this was technically my place to return, it no longer mattered. By the time I spoke with my mother, my mind was made up. Revenge on my in-laws and freeing my husband. We immediately took action after returning home. The construction business my in-laws had been running was already struggling.
All this debt.
And yet, how do you think they were okay until now?
I don't know.
You heard about James just now, right?
Being worked off to pay the debts?
Yes. But they're still borrowing more. Essentially, James will be their slave forever.
That's terrible. So what are we going to do?
It won't be a problem. At the time, I didn't fully grasp what my mother was saying. However, when my in-laws showed up 3 days later, I understood.
What have you guys done?
You came after all.
Just tell me what happened.
With that, the mother slowly began to explain. It turned out that the people to whom the in-laws owed money were pretty shady, involved in the construction business while exploiting illegal immigrants. Having uncovered this, the mother had managed to retrieve James by exchanging this information.
No way!
I'm sorry, but you'll have to deal with the debt yourselves. Then the doorbell rang. Heading to the entrance, there were James and his father-in-law.
James.
Sorry for the trouble I caused.
It's no trouble at all.
And so, the whole family was reunited.
James, and you too, Dad.
It's no use. There was a call earlier. They wanted the money back immediately.
We don't have that kind of money.
Here, I came up with a suggestion.
Then, why doesn't one of you take James's place?
The in-laws looked at each other.
Then you go, Dad. Why me? Because I can't work. What are you talking about? You were the one who caused that accident.
Accident?
That accident was actually orchestrated by Mom to get settlement money.
Turns out, she was a kind of scam artist. Truly despicable.
Can you save the arguing for when you get home? This is all because of...
Should you really be wasting time chatting? True. We need to prioritize getting through today first. The father-in-law stood up and left. The mother-in-law was shocked, but seemed to decide she couldn't just sit around, and left after him. The real trouble starts now.
Thank you so much. No need. I just want you two to be happy together.
Thank you, Mom. They were finally able to spend some relaxed, enjoyable time together. It's exciting to see what will happen to those two. Apparently, the in-laws have since chosen to file for bankruptcy. As a result, they had to give up their house. Now homeless, they moved into a rundown shack. James, who had been pushed to the brink by his previous hellish job, joined his mother's company and supported her devotedly. This was because his parents were forced to quit their sales jobs and were sent to do physical labor in the remote countryside. James really seems suited for this kind of work. He does seem more lively lately. Before, those people did whatever they wanted with him. But now, you'll be there to support him.
Sure.
James quickly fit in at the company with his sincerity and cheerfulness. Furthermore, just a few months after starting, he's already up for a promotion. I'm proud of James and plan to keep supporting him. You really are amazing. Really? You think so?
If only I had noticed something was wrong with you sooner. It's all in the past now. He's so fulfilled, he's practically forgotten about it. And it's all thanks to you too. Not at all.
They constantly express their gratitude to me. I will continue to support them. I make sure to stay in the background, so they can focus on their jobs. That's fine by me. As long as they are together, they'll surely navigate life successfully.